Thank you. And you.
So now on Facebook.
Oh.
And it's Dawniqua, right?
Yes.
I want to make sure I pronounce it right. Okay.
Here.
My wife told me I want to make sure I pronounce it right. All right, everybody, how you doing tonight? We are live with another episode of A Husband's Authority. We are live on Facebook. Tonight is going to be, I don't know if I call it interesting or live active night. I got my friend and brother Anthony Bass and his wife Dawniqua Bass on tonight, and we're going to talk about all things. Well, I can't call it husbandry. We're going to talk about marriage from what it means to be a husband, and we're going to have a husband and wife's perspective tonight. We got them on now, guys. They gave me a forewarning. They have a very active household, so it's going to be a little active tonight. So you may see them step out. You may see somebody run through. Like we got a little co-host with them tonight, but to give everybody time to come on in. So everybody, as you come in, I want everybody to share this to your friends. I'm going to share it right now to my pages so we can get this going. Share it to a page. There we go. All right, for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time tonight, this is A Husband's Authority presented by Kingdom Relationships. What a husband's authority is we are having a conversation on what it means to be a husband, because I believe that a lot of marriages end in divorce because men go in and don't understand what it really means to be a husband. And so they don't know what to do and the things that they need to do and learn to have a successful marriage. So I'm talking to men and women, men and their wives, about being a husband and what it means. So I got and I got a co-host tonight.
Tonight.
I know. So and I'm glad this is happening, guys, because this should show you what our lives are like and how it is. And I like it when my son comes in because you guys get to see him. He gets to see what I'm doing. But so Anthony, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great. I appreciate the opportunity once again.
I thank you. I appreciate you. You bring some good wisdom. So tell us a little bit about you, who you are, and about your life, and how long you've been married, and about your marriage and your beautiful wife.
Sure. So my name is Anthony Bass. I'm a pastor currently of a church in Brooklyn Park. My wife and I are the leads. We started this church 2014, September 2014. The official launch of the church was in March 22nd, 2015. So we've been here going at it church-wise for about 6 years. And it's been a great challenge for us, but we believe that's why we came up to Minnesota from Virginia Beach, because we feel like God called us to plant a church. So I'm a pastor also. I am a senior program manager of the Greater Twin Cities United Way. I'm responsible for a portfolio called Culturally Power Community, which is responsible for helping community colors getting resources in our Twin Cities area. That was important for us because, as I said earlier, I'm a church planting pastor, but Minnesota is a difficult state to kind of break through. A lot of people here have been here in the same social relationship since they were in kindergarten, and
Oh, wow.
It was just difficult for us to break through. So me getting the job at the United Way has helped me understand why the community is the way it is and how it functions. And so also I'm currently in school at the Humphrey School of Public Policy, Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota. And the reason why I'm doing that is because my wife and I made an agreement that we no longer pay for education or get loans. I'll say that. And so the NFL actually made a decision to help pay for retired players' education. And, and so that is probably the reason why I'm in school right now. So I think all this is just a path that God has placed me on. Specifically, I'm a father of 7. I have 3 kids from a previously failed marriage and remarried 2012 and June 2nd, 2012. And currently, we have 4 littles. It's been an amazing experience to lead coming out here, play pro football at it, and trusting God to take care of us, and that's kind of how it's been. So we're a family of faith, and we trust God. We are a Bible believing family, like 100%. Like we believe traditional marriage, traditional values. We're spirit filled as well, but we don't discount the intellectual aspect of our faith. So. We're believing holistic mental, and so that's been part of our little journey. I'll let you want to talk to my wife and ask her the same question. I'll take him.
Thank you.
So Dawniqua, how long you guys been married? Stop.
So we are going on 8 years. We married 12. Oh yeah, hey, it's going around tonight,
I know.
Yeah. Yes. So since 2012, we've been married. Yeah.
Okay. And so we're going to go ahead and start since Anthony's out. I'm going to ask you, what does being a husband mean to you? What does having a husband mean to you?
Wow. Okay. So having a husband, what does it mean to me? I have a teammate. We're big on teams. I don't know if it's because we're both former athletes, like him professionally, and then I did track and, throughout since I was little up into a little bit of college. And that was, we had that mindset, I think that, and we're just a team. We work well together. Our family is Team Bass. I don't know. So having a teammate, somebody that I can go through the rest of my days with, just us against whatever, comes.
Okay. And Anthony, what does being a husband mean to you?
Yeah. I guess growing up, I guess I could answer that differently at each stage of my life, right? Because I saw my dad as like just a strong protector. And so I feel like that's part of it. But my dad wasn't probably as engaged in his faith as most Christian fathers were. And so, I believe a husband is also like the priest of the home. And I think that's something I really wasn't taught to thoroughly in church, like what that means. How do you activate that? What does that look like? And that's something in our ministry we've actually we're attempting to try to cultivate that in our ministry. Provider as well, we live in a day where, now it's the norm for both parents or spouses to have employment, but that's not necessarily our case because I'm currently employed, but she's not. She's not getting paid for her employment. Yeah, she's a stay-at-home mom, and so that's like 24/7, right? It's something I couldn't do. Home educator, and she also homeschools. That's right. So she's a homeschooler. So she's a homeschooler, stay-at-home. I say stay-at-home mom with homeschooling. It's just regardless, it's hard, right? Because it's just something she's doing 24/7. So I'm also support her, right? And that's something that she made it clear when we got married. Like her heart was to pour into our kids, to disciple our boys, and that's what she's doing, and she does an excellent job at it. Also, I guess provider, protector, priest. That's kind of the 3. I think I've landed on, and what I'm trying to grow in. And wasn't good at, to be honest, failed at my first marriage, and trying to get better at this current marriage is like, how are you a farmer, right? You're a nurturer. A husband is somebody who cares and brings out the best in your spouse. And that's something I didn't see necessarily modeled from my dad because he didn't see it modeled from his dad. But that's not an excuse for me not to do that, right? So I have to I'm trying to stretch myself in that area to figure out what that actually looks like. So I'm trying to learn my wife, and because I'm busy, it's sometimes it's not the priority, to be brutally honest. So I struggle in that area, to be honest.
Okay.
And, but God, I feel like, has given me grace, and I'm learning my wife as the days go by and how to give her what she needs, right? If it's words of affirmation or any support, or if it's time for her to leave the house to get,
away for a little bit.
Right. I mean, I am who I need to be for my wife and my family. So.
Gotcha. And that's good. I like how you said that you're still learning and that you're honest about where you're being deficient at and where you're learning, because a lot of men don't do that. A lot of men won't say, because I guess they feel like it's weak if they say, hey, I'm failing in this area or I'm not doing it. Well, we put on a face that we're the greatest husband in the world. We're the leader of our homes. I wear the pants in the house. I was in a barbershop last week and we were talking, and sometimes I make the joke, well, I wear the pants at my house. My barber said, if you got to say it, then you don't wear the pants. So, but I said it as a joke. They knew I was joking, but that is true. So sometimes we can get to the point, men can get to the point where we cover up our deficiencies, where we're lacking in our marriage, because we don't want to seem like we're weak, when if we're honest with our wives and say, hey, babe, I need help in this, or I'm lacking in this area, or I don't know what to do. I need to go to God about this, or what's your opinion? How do you feel about this? Then they will be able to get more input from them, because they're here to help us. There's a time where I felt like that. I felt that if I told my wife I was feeling weak, that she would think I'm less of a man, which that was the case. She wants to know when I'm feeling like that so she can pray for me and so she can encourage me. So, but we got to get men doing it. Go ahead, you're saying something?
No, I mean, that was huge right there. I think particularly for African-American men, we've definitely, there's a lot of myths out there about African-American men, being over-sexualized, not really being loving or not being fathers. I mean, this is the great thing about this ministry of yours, is that's very much needed. Yes. Because there's just such bad myths out there regarding what it means to be a man as a Black man here in America. And I think a lot of times we follow this archetype that does not exist, or if it does exist, it doesn't work in a family context. Like, I remember growing up, I very rarely hear or heard that a Black man or a Black man was a good lover outside of sex, right? And so to see what a man looks like as a Black man looks like as a father, like my example was my dad, who was at home, but also Bill Cosby, right? Like, that was the first time I was like,
yeah.
Oh, that's what it looks like to be a man, a father. And now Bill Cosby here, he's in jail.
Right.
That's the old one. Yeah.
So, any thoughts on that?
I think intentional growth. That's one of the things. Yeah, that's another one of the things that we really strive for in our marriage, is being intentional about our own personal development and growth. And so that has helped. Like, so in areas where he is weak, it's like there's no shame in anything. Where I'm weak, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like we pick up the slack because we know, okay, this is an area where you need to grow in, or where I'm trying in. You know what I
mean? And that's where it's like you said before, Dawniqua, the teammate comes in. The being a team, they're doing it together. Because you, as a point, our mentor of mine told me, and he was saying it about Caleb, but I could put this in context of the marriage. He said there comes a time where Caleb's going to need more of her, Keisha, and less of me, and then more of me and less of Keisha. Let's stay with our marriage. There comes a time where it's going to need more of you encouraging him, and then there's going to be a time when it's going to need more of Anthony encouraging you, and we got to be able to recognize those moments, because if we don't, then that's when it falls apart, because you may say, oh, he's not hearing me. He's not giving me what I need, and then he may be feeling the same way, and then sometimes that's how marriages fall apart, because people say, okay, the man's at work, or she's at work, and then this guy, coworker, come by and tell her, "You're looking good today. You know, your hair looks nice." Then she's not getting that home, and then she's like, "Oh," then you start twirl. She start twirling her hair, and then he may be up there, you know, that edge up is nice. You looking good today, Aunt, you know, whatever. And then, you know, he's like, "Oh man, you know, she's making me feel, you know, like, you know." Then they find out, "Oh, you used to play for the Vikings. Oh, you know, hey, you know." And then so, but when we give each other that, it helps. I was telling, and I'm going to next question, but I was telling a friend of mine that I work in an industry that's woman dominated. And women come in, they look for house apartments and things like that. And whenever I see somebody flirting with me, I start to do this, fill my ring, or I say, "Yeah, my wife likes this one too." And I do that intentionally because I put those boundaries up because I don't want to even let that be a problem. And then it'll come when Keisha and I may have that morning had like a disagreement or something, and then I go to all of a sudden, and I'm like, "Nah, I'm not even letting it go there." And so those are things that, like you said, if we're a team and we know when to encourage each other, when to hold each other up, then that prevents all that from happening. Man, so you guys, so you're talking about your marriage, and you talk about you were talking about your example. So what examples did you guys have that influence how you're being intentional about your marriage now?
Okay, so I would say my parents. You know, what I love about my parents' relationship, and they trained us in truth and righteousness, and they made our, you know, Christian education a priority for them. So throughout our whole, you know, from beginning on, they kept us in Christian schools. They made the sacrifice because they wanted us to be discipled, taught, and trained, and they followed that up in the home. A lot of times it will happen in school, then home is a different area. That wasn't so for us. We did ministry with our parents. Like, we saw them working together in different arenas. Like, in every arena, it was like we could see the gospel being lived out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
The same gospel preached to us, they were living it out, whether it was in their marriage, you know, and working through some rough stuff, or just having fun and like joking and laughing and with each other, like they still do today. Like, it's, I mean, you know, their marriage is not perfect, but it's a testament of God's grace and, you know, just his ability to kind of just, I guess, keep people. And so I knew when I got married that I'm not getting a divorce. Like, when I get married, I may be older when I get married, which I was a little bit, but I knew this is forever. Like, somebody's got to die. Like, that's how you get out of this. Just like, you know, in a gang, it's the same kind of thing with us. You got to split out, you know, that's what it is. Yeah.
That's funny. It's because somebody's got to die. That's what I said. I told my wife, I said, you stuck with me. You know, you stuck with me. And I know every marriage, like in Anthony's case, sometimes it doesn't pan out the way you want, but it's how you bounce back. And I don't know anything about that, but I've seen friends. I grew up in a single family home, so I didn't have an example of mother and father at home, but I had mentors. But so I can see. So my marriage advice and examples came from mentors. And, you know, Anthony, you've spoken about your dad. You even spoke with a father's authority when you did that interview with me. And you said it when we came on here about the example that you had. But now that you're remarried to Dawniqua, what is it that's helping you, has helped you now in your second marriage that was different from the first, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, great. That's an excellent question. I think, you know, I know my wife loves me for me. And I don't think a lot of people have the opportunity that I did, because when we first met, I wasn't in NFL. You gotta make that different. She said, yeah, I mean, like, literally, I did not have much of anything outside of debt and child support that I owed. And, I was leaving Virginia, coming to Minnesota. I didn't have anything, but, she knew that God had a plan for my life. She saw God's hand on me, and she knew, I think after me convincing her that, we were supposed to be together and that together we could do something great for God. And I think because I know my wife loves Jesus, that's the most comforting thing of all, because truthfully, it's her relationship to God, I believe, when at times get rough, that I depend upon. Like, I'm like, God will speak to her, because we get miscommunication, we get frustrated, we get upset with each other like everybody else. And even say hypothetically, a thought came in that there was a better person out there. I know that she has a Holy Spirit in her, and he'll talk to her and he'll check her. And to me, that gives me confidence, because I know that she has her own time with God. She has her own life with God outside of me. Like, she wakes up and does worship for herself. She reads the Bible for herself. She was doing ministry before I came into her life, so that gives me comfort, because I think a lot of times we see people go to church and we have the assumption that they're Christians, but they don't really have a relationship with God. Yeah. And the more and more I get to know her, I get to see she hears God herself, and God talks to her, God corrects her, God loves her. And that gives me more confidence to move forward. And obviously we're not perfect, but I'm finding perfection in the process, meaning I'm finding maturity for myself and her. And that's an appealing thing, right? That our love can get better, that I can get better at being a better husband, a better father. I could get better at loving her in the way that God wants me too. So.
That's good. That's good. And guys, I love the activity that's coming in. He came peep around the corner. He stood at the door. And he tiptoed in. Then he kissed her, look at the camera like. Man, you ever see those people like on CNN? They walk past the camera.
But yeah,
that's how he did. I love it. That's good. I love it. So, Anthony, what's the best part of being a husband?
Oh, yeah, that was a good question. When I grew up, honestly, I didn't want to play professional football, be a pastor, or be important. I just want to be a good dad. And what's happening now is I'm growing older, my heart's changing, because I see my wife makes sacrifices for me. Like, most people don't have an opportunity to see that literally, but my wife does. Like, she literally makes sacrifices, and I don't want to put her out there for some of the sacrifices she has made or is making. But it's like, okay, that's changing my perspective, because I have hurt, right? I have hurt from past betrayal, right? I have stigmas that I still have to overcome because of being taken advantage of or whatever. And the more I see her being genuinely kind, loving God, I think it's making my ideal of it's lifting up, I'll say, the idea of being a husband almost as high as my original dream of being a father. And now it's almost like something I take pleasure in, being a husband. So, and I'll admit I'm not the best at it, but it's something I have a desire to get better at. I know it's not, stereotypical. What I'm looking for is genuine. The
answers, or not. Yeah. This is real talk. Yeah.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, so like I said, I'm not. I want to be the best husband I could be, because I know that pleases God. But my wife, I believe, deserves it, right? And that's an ideal I probably didn't have a long time ago. And I'll be brutally honest. But now, the more I live with her, I'm like, man, she's making. I need to step up, and I want her to be happy. I want her to have a great life. I want her to do all the things God wants her to do in her life. So that's inspiring for me.
That's good. And I love your honesty. I love how you're being honest today, and you're saying that you're still working on it, because we're all still working. We're all still learning. You guys have been married, say, 8 years. Keisha and I are going on 7, and marriage is for grown folk. Marriage is it's AP calculus, trig, scientific strategies, some whatever mixture for grown folk. And it's always a learning process. I don't think we'll ever be to a point in our marriage where we're not learning, especially as men, because God holds us responsible
Amen.
for our marriage. He holds us responsible for the tone that's set in our home. I say this, and I'm always say this. I was studying, and you know how they say the wife makes the house a home. One thing I learned is it's the husband that makes the house the home. Because we're responsible for setting the tone. The wife comes in and puts her love and what was it Ginger said last week? She develops it, she nurtures it, and that's what makes it that feeling when you come in the house. But because our words set the tone, and when we're honest in that we're learning, especially when we're honest with our wives, that we're still learning something, and that makes it easier for us to come together as a couple and learn.
Let me say something. I believe in transparency, authenticity, because I think she sees me all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing my wife sees me. If I act like if I act like a coward, right? She called it out. Like if I was fake about my faith in a minute, she literally called that out, right? So for me to come with a facade, like she wouldn't allow me to do that, right? I think that I'd be in jeopardy of losing my relationship with God if I was being false, right? So the reason why I can be honest, and I have to be honest, is because she sees me. And after this is over, we'll have a conversation about
a debrief.
There we go. But the thing about it is, as long as I'm transparent and honest, it'll never be, well, what did you mean by that?
Right. Yeah.
She knows I'm speaking from my heart, and I don't have to remember, like I'm not lying about it, right? Yeah. Like it's not false.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So Dawniqua. I'm sorry. I know y'all lady Dawniqua. I'm sorry. So what's the best part of having a husband?
I would say the best part is you growing with the person, like how he is now. Okay, so I think one of the most important things is knowing who you're getting. That's important. A lot of people I think go in and they're like, some people have like these, like you were saying, facades, stuff up that, you don't really get the knowledge of who that person is, but really understanding who I'm getting and then watching the growth take place as you come together, two as one, becoming one, but the growth taking place in his heart, in his life, how he is, like you said, he's changing, because there was hurt there. There was a lot of stuff there. There was, a lot with him. Not that I don't have my own stuff too, but from his past marriage, the stuff that in this marriage, you're like, okay, this is a bit of a struggle, and you're like, okay, but I knew beforehand, even though he's done work and everything else, the stuff might just flare up. So we have to deal with different things. We have different ideas when it comes to sometimes parenting and discipleship in the home. And so I know, okay, what I'm getting here. I know this is what I need to do right here. This is what he's going to do. This is what he's able to do. You know what I mean? Like meeting someone where they are and then watching the growth take place from there. I think that's what I love about having a husband is I can see this. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, and then we're becoming one person where it's like, I know what he's going to say. I think I know what he's going to do there. That to me.
Yeah. You're learning the process. You're learning him and seeing him grow. There was I wrote that, I meant to write it quite down, but it was last week, my guest last week, they said that, I remember a quote, but it said, you should be so faithful to your wife that you're predictable. And I said to what you said to him is you're seeing him. So you're knowing him and you can be like, my wife tells me I'm so predictable that she knows when I'm about to flirt with her. She knows what I'm about to say, or if she's about to walk past, I'm about to try to touch her. She's like, you're so predictable, because she knows me and she knows, I don't know if she knows like the gestures I'm gonna make or something, but she knows when I'm down. She knows when I need encouragement. She knows when I'm failing at something. Those things sometimes I don't even have to do. And I see that you're saying that's what you see in him. You see his growth. You understand his past, but you see him now that he's growing beyond that. And that's good. And that's how wives need to be with their husband. You know, they need to, especially when you're coming from another situation, coming to a new one. Yeah, I like what you said before. You said, know what you're getting. And you have to understand that, yeah.
But I think too, it's like, I think what we don't, when husbandry is talked about, we talk about, you know, what it is, but it's dirty work. You're in the dirt. Like, I mean, you're tilling soil. So it's not this, and it's kind of like, to me, like with moms, I didn't walk into this thing being a mom. I was made a mom. I was made a wife. And so that doesn't just happen because I have a ring on my finger. All of a sudden, this is a growth track. It's learning and growing. The word says that you're supposed to be discipled by older women to be taught how to love your husband. So I have to be taught how to do this thing. So this is a walk that I'm taking with him, a journey with him, and we're becoming, stepping into who we are supposed to be, so that we can look like Jesus Christ. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Oh, we got a new guest. So what's your view? So Anthony, how important are a husband's words to his wife?
I think they're, I hate to say essential, but I think they are, particularly, I'll say from my wife, because her love language is words of affirmation. And so for me, I have learned to be very loving, very encouraging, and that fills her love tank, for lack of a better term. I think that was something I had to learn, that we can build up and tear down. And as a result, I realized that I needed to build her up. And so with that, I think that I've sometimes been able to encourage her to keep pushing through hard times, you know, to encourage her to keep moving forward and to acknowledge when she has wins, right? And she's doing great, even though she may not feel that she's doing good, right? So yeah, I'd say, if not essential, close to it, particularly for my wife. Words are powerful and almost, I'd say, life.
Okay. Dawniqua, now that you said that, now we know how important words are to you because of your love language. Let me hear from you.
Well, they've definitely become more important since I am here educating a bunch of littles all the time. So words from big people, that just moves my heart. It does. But yeah, they're really, I mean, they shape and they can form. Like, I think about words are incredibly important. I think about my boys, and every day I try to tell them who they are, you know, so that, like, even when we're out a few weeks ago, some guy said, "Hey, look at your little troublemakers." And my son quickly turned around and said, "Hey, we are not troublemakers. We are children of God." I'm like, yeah, that's right. I didn't have to say anything. You know what I mean? I didn't have to be like, excuse me, no, that's not who they are. They're not this. They know who they are. You know what I mean? And
right,
so
yeah.
It's like those words from your husband, just like the words to your kids, like you're just depositing seeds, you know, you're tilling that ground and then you're throwing them seeds in there. And those seeds, depending upon what you put in there, they're going to grow a harvest, you know.
Yeah.
Our words have the power to kill and the power to create and you know, to bring life. So yeah, extremely important.
Yeah, and they control the tone of our marriage, you know, because if Anthony came through the house and start yelling and telling you you're nothing, and look at that look on her face, tell you you're nothing, that he's tired of you, and also then you'll feel down if you're not strong. You'll be like, hold on. Now, if I came and my wife be like, hold on, dude, don't stop. You know, but you know, it can make you feel unappreciative. It can make you feel less than. But when he come in and say, "Hey, babe, how's your day? You're beautiful. Or you can do it. Thank you for teaching the kids today. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the sacrifice you make." Then that makes you feel appreciated. And you said, words are seeds. The Bible said death and life is in the power of the tongue. And the Amplified version said a man's belly must be satisfied with the consequence of his words. And I may be paraphrasing, but it's something to that effect. But it said you must be satisfied with the consequence of your words. So your words have consequences, because it's gonna, whatever you say, something is gonna happen with those words. And I do believe that a husband's words are very important. Like you said, Anthony, essential, and they're vital. to our wives because we got to speak into them. You ever seen a wife that's there, but she's not there?
Yeah.
She's in the home and the husband is just verbally abusive, but she's doing everything. She's still taking care of the home. But that song, your body's here with me, but your mind is on the other side of town. She's there, but she's like here. She's gone because he beat her down so much with the words. So our words can kill or our words can give life. And that was good. So what does it mean to be faithful?
And so for me, faithfulness to me is honestly one of the keys of our ministry. Our church is called Endurance Church, and our tag is Live Well, Finish Strong. And for me, my understanding of the faith and faithfulness is your commitment.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
To God is your commitment to walk in obedience regardless of what trials, tribulations, struggles you endure, right? Mm-hmm. So, we live in a day and age where times are getting more difficult. We have the coronavirus coming. Yeah. A lot of people's faith will be tested, right? In my marriage, it's being committed to my wife despite ups, despite downs, despite disappointments. And I think one of the big things is despite the fact that some of your expectations, may not be achieved by my spouse, right? What do I do when I know those expectations aren't going to happen, right? And still trusting that God has the capacity to fill me, to help me, to encourage me, to remain faithful despite that disappointment. And so it's just a relentless commitment to one person. Regardless of the outcome, whether I'm on the mountain or in the valley, that I'm always true and walking in integrity.
That's good. That's good. Dawniqua?
Okay. So when I think about faithfulness, so I'm just going to take it somewhere else with this. I think about God, and I think about, because our marriage is supposed to be a representation in the earth of Christ and his church. So he's Jesus, I'm the church, right? Mm-hmm. So when I think about faithfulness, I think about how faithful.
Bless you, buddy.
God bless you. I think about how faithful God is, and how I think about covenant. Faithful to his word, faithful to his covenant. And I think faithfulness is, to me, especially in our marriage, it's like when they used to make the covenants of old and they would cut up the animal. They take an animal, cut it up in between the two people that are going to make the vow or the pledge, right? Then you've got this animal, you cut up all the bloody pieces, and the whole animal is just all out before you, just laid out, just, entrails, everything. So you've got one person on one side, one person on the other side. And then they walk in between the bloodied part of the animal, cross sides, and they're basically saying when they make that covenant, this is what will be done to be, this right here, if I break this vow. So when I think about faithfulness, and I think about how God himself, he didn't make a covenant with us. He made a covenant with himself. And then he was the one who did that. Then I'm like, okay, so this is how we should live. This is what faithfulness lived out. This is what this is supposed to be.
That's good. That's good. I like that analogy too, because that's a blood covenant, and you're coming together, and you're becoming blood brothers and blood sisters, and it's a blood connection with that. So, what's a marriage success tip?
Patience. I think it goes back to what you said about your words. I think a lot of times we think we have our spouses figured out, and we jump to assumptions that aren't real. We jump to conclusions that are false. And I think we begin to act on those assumptions like they're reality. And as a result of our lack of curiosity in our spouses, the fact that we sometimes think we have their motives figured out, we can make missteps, right? And sometimes we sadly assume the worst. I remember being in a situation where I saw someone comparing the worst of their spouse to the best of someone else's spouse, right?
Oh, wow.
And they feel like they were being gypped that much, right? And it's unfair to compare the worst in your spouse to the best of somebody else, right?
Right.
And so I think that trying to manage your heart having the expectation or having the thought that your spouse has your best interest in mind is key, I think, to a healthy relationship. And I remember Billy Graham said the best marriages are the fact that you have two really good forgivers, right? You're going to say stuff, you're going to do stuff that you regret. But if you're willing to forgive and keep moving forward, I think that'll keep the bond of marriage strong. And my wife is actually changing the baby, so she may not be coming back for a couple of minutes.
Oh no, I'm actually writing down what you just said about Bill Graham. Said the best marriage has two really good forgivers.
Really. Nope. Get it, buddy.
I'm writing that down. So what I like to do and what I like to end with is giving you an opportunity to, in your own word, whatever's on your heart, to husbands out there, to men out there, whether they're married, divorced, single men that want to be husbands, just whatever you feel led to tell them, just impart something to the men out there from your heart, something that you want to tell them.
Sure. I think I go back to Abraham, and we to be brutally honest, in the Bible, you don't see too many like great examples of marriage, right? You don't see too many great examples, but there's one really good example of a father and a husband, and that's Abraham, right? And even though discount the mistakes he made, but you look in the blessing and the promises, God says the reason why I picked Abraham was because he would teach his children his ways, the ways of God. And if you keep that in your mind, that one of the primary reasons for families is to make disciples of God, I think that's an empowering thought, right? That you know that God has brought you together with your spouse to help bring about transformation and change the world and push faith into the next generation. And to me, if you don't have that ministry mind, that missionary mind, then sometimes you get lost regarding what you're doing. There was a long time ago, I was about to preach when I played for the Vikings. It was 1999, and Tony Evans was the speaker of the event, right? And I remember Keith Johnson was, at the time, he was the chaplain of the team, and he said, Anthony, because at that time God had been moving in my life, and I was in the Viking, like, man, I think it's my first time to preach. So it was a men's event on the University of Minnesota campus. And when I was preparing, I was like, wow, this is it. This is going to be my first real experience, my first real event to preach. And as a result, I was like, wow, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to be so excited. And I prepared to speak on Ecclesiastes. I was like, man, I got this locked down. This is going to be amazing. This is going to be good. I'm going to share God's word. I'm going to change the world, right? This is going to be my jump off point. So I got there at the event, and lo and behold, I was told I can't speak, right?
What?
And I was like, I'm trying to wrestle with my pride. Like, what just happened? Like, man, I thought I was going to be preaching. And I was hurt, and I was trying to deal with it. And then Keith told me, God's doing something. You hang on. So as soon as I went back, got my mind right, got peace, Tony Evans came up and preached the exact same sermon that I was going to preach out of Ecclesiastes.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, man, like God's in control. He's speaking to more people than just me, right? And whenever you think you're by yourself in your war, if you think you're by yourself in your marriage, like you're not, right? You're not alone. And to me, that's a comforting thought that God, he goes before us, but he's also with us in the storm. And so for me, that has brought me a lot of comfort during some difficult times and also some blessed times in my life.
That's good. That's good. And that's good. I go back to, you said God is always with you. You're not alone. I think a lot of men need to understand that God is with us, even when we sometimes we feel like that we're not being heard. And that even goes for wives too, or talking to men. Sometimes we can feel like we're not being heard, or our wives don't understand us, or that we need more, or we're lacking in the area that in providing for our family and things like that. Sometimes we can feel like that, but we have to understand and realize that we are not alone, that God is with us, and that we always have him that we can go to and get that piece of advice. But man, guys, I thank you guys for being on tonight. I thank you for the words of wisdom. I thank you for the live action of the Bass household that we got to see tonight. It's pretty cool. What's up, buddies? But this was really good. I really thank you guys. Anthony, as always, I appreciate you being on, coming on with me. And Dawniqua, thank you. Your first time on with us, but it was great. You guys be blessed. I'm pretty much blessed over Anthony, what we talked about earlier for your son, man. I'm going to keep it in prayer.
Amen.
So you guys be blessed, and we're gonna talk again. All right.
All right.
Okay.
All right. You guys have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
All right. So guys, we had Anthony and Dawniqua Bass on tonight, talking about being a husband and the importance of being a husband and the roles of a husband. And we got some really good advice. If you guys, hold on, guys, before you go, if you guys want to find them, it's Endurance Church. What's your website for your church?
EnduranceChurch.tv or EnduranceChurch.org.
Okay. EnduranceChurch.tv or EnduranceChurch.org. Follow them, guys. You will be blessed. Guys, thank you for coming on. If you have any questions for us, you can email us at hello@kingdomrelationships.org. You can also go back and see this interview and others on our website at kingdomrelationships.org, or you can go to our YouTube page, Kingdom Relationships. Guys, thank you for being on tonight. Guys, thank you for watching. As always, be victorious.
Amen.